this is sugar spice and everything nice. And hopefully there is no chemical X.
I just found out with you guys. 3 years on a team and I find out like this.
You should have just known. So yeah, that feels awful for Shahzam.
I think the three who are rumored, they can improve basically any team they go to. So like, I love that it's an Indian agent, you know, like being Indian myself, that it's actually so cool to see that in a game and it not being like cringe looking or something, you know?
Let's go into like, what is going to be this new agent? A new controller has now been announced, of course, a few weeks ago, but officially we have a name for the agent, codename Mage before, but now out as Harbor. An agent that comes out here. Do I say it correctly here? Giald he Miltehain.
Close
I
enough.
don't think so, right?
Close enough.
Was it close? Was it close?
Yeah, it was actually.
That's awesome. But yes, the controller agent, where there's some teasers that came out here and there. Apparently, a water-based agent. I saw some memes going out here about the a water-based avatar, pretty much as this new controller. Tanner, what's your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think Harbor's going to bring to the table?
So I'm not, man, I'm less of a what I think Harbor's going to bring to the table in way of utility and abilities, but more of what Harbor's going to bring to the table is we just got a badass agent that looks super fucking cool that, you know, women want to be with him, men want to be him. And I think it's going to make a whole lot of controller players start to rise to the surface, and maybe we'll have less Instalock, Jet, and Reyna, and more people wanting to play this new badass agent that is Harbor. And so I think that that's really cool that they went this route of a fucking badass controller.
I love how Tanner had all these puns because, you know, Valorant did the same thing too when they were announcing this agent. And I'm going to continue the pun, but I'm going to steal it from Zix. Harbor is actually making everyone wet right now. just from the water powers, obviously. But Tanny, what do you think is going to be coming out? Do you think it's going to be what? Because it looks like from the image that we saw before of Harbor, there's like this huge wall that goes in the back, the same type of water or just smokes in general that we see from the other controllers. Do you think this is like a hybrid of like a Brimstone and Viper style to its kit?
So firstly, I gotta say, I love that it's an Indian agent, you know, like being
Yes.
Indian myself, that it's actually so cool to see that in a game and it not being like cringe looking or something, you know? Like if you had just like a
modeled
turban or
off you,
something, it'd be
Tanny. The
really
guy's
weird.
fucking handsome.
I wish. I got something to cosplay at least for Halloween, so yeah, that's good.
That's awesome.
In terms of the agent, I think it's one they have to be really careful with. I know people have been like nitpicking the poster and like the teaser and everything, and it looks like the water like acts as a barrier for bullets. You know, you can see the little ripples. I don't know if that's just like damage reducing or if it's like a full on block. But I think you got to be super careful with something like that because coming from Overwatch, you can see how Brig just changed the entire game.
Yeah.
And like completely ruined the meta for like 2 and a bit years.
Yeah.
I'm a bit scared that something will happen like that, but I gotta have faith in Riot that they see Overwatch and they don't mess up to that degree, you know?
It's going to be interesting. At the same time, I'm going to put Daniel and Ian on the spot to try to find that. Remember when we talked about it a few weeks ago, Tanner? We talked about the person that did a TikTok and like faked out the agent. But I think one of the abilities was actually creating a bubble that adds some sort of invulnerability potentially with rifles. And now with what Tanny's just explaining on the smoke here with the ripples on the dome, that's going to be very dangerous when it comes to like almost free plants for executions into sites. I'm thinking just how difficult it is to get into the B site of Pearl. If it's not for abilities, then it's or you're able to prevent abilities with a KO knife. It's a free plant. It's a free plant. There's that bubble that we're talking about. So, what are your thoughts if that's going to happen as well here, Tanner?
Yeah, so I would think because you say allows for free plants, but also every smoker ever knows, hey, when you're going to the field, like smoke the bomb. If you have a smoke, smoke the bomb, right? So also free diffuses. What I would hope when I was kind of seeing the cinematic a little bit, that was my first time actually seeing that. And I think it will be probably something like meeting in the middle, like Tanny said, where it's damage reduction. The bullets are maybe slowed through the bubble or slowed through the it looks like maybe he'll have some type of Phoenix wall that goes up that's kind of an Astra wall, but doesn't last as long, isn't as large, and maybe isn't as flexible. this does seem pretty water weavy to me. I actually, when we saw this for the first time today, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. So if you guys have anything to cue me in on what we're looking at, I've got no clue. But I do think it will. I think it'll be less shields and more of, like Tanny said, the damage reduction on the bullets coming on through, which it changes the game a little bit, right? You can no longer plant for C and then all go play down C long. Like you do have to have somebody, like you do have to have crossfire set up, and you kind of have to hunker down on the site once you get the spike planted.
And imagine, and before we move into the next topic, so you guys know this bug, right? For the Viper, your own snake bite onto your own teammate is going to mitigate the damage that goes on the other end for the other snake bite. What if actually that was intended for this new agent, so that when the smoke comes down, it actually does mitigate molly damage, so you can actually fully stick it at halfway, also eliminating post plant snake bites. That to keep in mind. Apparently, it's going to get announced tomorrow, so we'll keep an eye on that very soon. Let's move on, though, to the next segment, back into the partnership program. This time, getting a little bit more out of EMEA because we have Tanny on here with us. It's about the most recent merger between Koi and Rogue. So, Koi, of course, you guys all know them, has been announced as a partner to the Rides Partnership Program in EMEA for quite a while now. But Rogue actually is a North American entity that has a lot of backings from like Imagine Dragons or even Steve Aoki, one of my faves. And then over here also we'll have a little snippet of Anna, not Anna Donlan, but Anna actually that came on the show with us because she's also part of the ESIC committee when we also had that issue that we wanted to talk about what's going to happen with the players back in the summertime. She is the EVP of Rogue. So this recent merger, this is also very funny to watch. But Ibai actually had this announcement on his Twitch, and this merger is just going to do, for me, an injection, of course, of money into the organization, although Koi, I'm assuming, already has it. So in your eyes here, Tanny, what does Rogue bring to the table on top of this acquisition or merger with Koi?
So I think it's actually quite a good one. So Rogue have been around in esports for a long, long time. You know, they have this structure everywhere, like in Berlin with LEC as well, globally with the other games, you know. I even remember them in Overwatch. They were one of the top organizations back then. And Koi bring in the new viewership, and I think both of them together is the perfect for each other because like. Rogue have been struggling with that, let's be honest, with the viewership. So they have a fresh influx of that with the new Spanish fans. And then Koi get the structure and just infrastructure actually in Berlin that they need to like perform the best both in LEC and in Valorant.
Yeah, because Rogue, for me, I think about Rainbow Six or I think about CSGO. I don't really think they made too much of an impact in Valorant in North America as of yet. But does this mean that we might have maybe some sort of influence of like, if we're looking into the outside talent that could come into EMEA, right? You're allowed to bring in an import. Do you think it's going to be maybe an influence about bringing in an NA or somebody from LatNam here, Tanner, for this international roster to see within Rogue and Koi?
Yeah, so I don't know in terms of like roster moves, I can't really predict where this is headed. I think we talked about creating like a full Spanish team for Koi just in
the
general.
past. Yeah.
I do think that this is like the Powerpuff Girls of an organization, because the way that the world is going with whether it be a partnership program where you have to be super cool and not necessarily be super good, but people got to like you. For now, Rogue and Koi, they have that. And then if it's like a franchising thing where you need money, Rogue and Koi now have that. I don't think you guys mentioned League of Legends, where Rogue right now is at Worlds for League of Legends.
That's true.
It's kind of like merging. It's keeping this Riot fan base that Rogue already have. And yeah, I think, like I said, this is sugar, spice, and everything nice. And hopefully there is no Chemical X. Although the Powerpuff Girls are cool, God only knows what happens when Chemical X gets added to this.
All these references, Tanny. Do you have
I need
Powerpuff Girls in EMEA?
Yeah, I need more Powerpuff Girls references. To be honest, like I gotta use this at one point.
All right, well, let's actually talk about. I was gonna try to do some sort of Powerpuff pun, but I don't have any for the roster NA shuffle. So let's talk about some official roster moves. A little bit dated, but at this point, we really didn't officially talk about it on the show. Zekin, formerly of Exet, finally joins Sentinels officially here. I know we keep talking about these rumors left and right, but now it's actually been officially announced, so that's good. And if we want to think about official roster of what's going on right now, what's been really announced through the roster shuffle for North America for Sentinels, it's just Zekin. Tens is still in there. Dapper technically is still in there. Shahzam was technically supposed to be in there until most recently. What happened, unfortunately, with what's been going on Reddit most recently is Shahzam finding out now through an article of George Geddes saying that there's going to be Def that is and Zekin that are going to be joining Sentinels, which then means that Shahzam will not be a part of Sentinels, quote unquote, officially. So let's have a look at his reaction on that.
Well, guys, looks like an article just went out. You want to know the best part? Ollie Bear, thanks for 20 months here too. I just found out with you guys. Help me feel it, I feel it. 3 years on a team and I find out like this.
Fucking hurts. But at the same time, though, there was some clarifications that came out from Rob Moore right after, I think, following that incident, stating that, just to make it clear to the public that we did have a conversation with Shahzam back in September to remind me that he didn't really necessarily have a contract for next year. And, we wanted to figure out what was going to happen with now the coaches are going to bring in. But unfortunately, we wanted to make it better for Shahzam, but it was just unlucky timing with now the article that was leaked out by George. But then there was still another response that came out here from Shahzam after saying that, he was told that it wasn't going to be any sort of discussions in terms of contract renewal, although there was going to be some sort of follow-up conversations for us to have to figure out what was going to happen. But now, Shahzam saying that he would have liked to hear it from the org, but instead he heard it from the article from the leaks from George. So I think in the end, it all comes down to like some sort of very bad timing on, just on the article in itself. For me, it seems like Sentinels kind of did everything right and was going to mention it at some point to Shahzam, but this unlucky timing happened here, Tanner.
Yeah, I don't know. That sucks because there's obviously miscommunication. Obviously, they're not on the same page about something. And it's like, as a human being, you kind of know, right? When they say, hey, we're going to follow up with you. This is kind of I think, common sense approach. Not the right approach, though, I'll say. But the common sense approach of, you were told that there are going to be follow-ups. There were no follow-ups, which you should get the idea that that means that we're not going to continue with you. I don't think that's the right way, but I think that's kind of how Sentinels see it. They're like, well, hey, man, we said there's going to be follow-ups and there was none, so you should have just known. So, yeah, that feels awful for Shahzam, especially given everything that he did for that organization before coaches, when Sentinels just got into Valorant, it was all Shahzam. He was really doing it all. Obviously, the players behind him, but in way of all the research, the players even back then would tell themselves, like, hey, we don't really do anything except for play, and Shahzam kind of just tells us what to look out for and what we need to be doing. So it really does suck for him, even if you compare or are looking at him as a player and being like, well, he's, Def is going to be a better IGL. You got to treat people better than that, man. That's awful to Shahzam.
It definitely pained me watching that too, because the last line that Shahzam said, like, 3 years in Oregon, this is how I find out. And I also remember when we were casting Sentinels during First Strike, and we had that segment about Shahzam and playing the game and playing after he lost his father. It was just heartbreaking to just see the reaction of, like, he poured a lot into Sentinels, and unfortunate timing with what happened with the leak here from George that he couldn't part with Sentinels officially in a more professional way, if I could put it that way. And speaking of that, I'm gonna pass it over to you here, Tanny, because you've been around the scene for quite a while with in the EMEA region in terms of coaching, right? So you went through like Heretics, most recently Vitality. I think you did Giants at some point as well. Has that sort of like communication gap been quite prominent in your experience as a coach as well?
Yeah, sometimes that is the case because like orgs, they tend to kind of forget about you once you've they're considering other options, you know?
Yeah.
And then the focus just becomes on the new team, the new coach, the new player, whatever it may be, you know? And they don't always communicate the best with the people like previously then.
Yeah.
And it can be an issue. I don't think Sentinels did like a huge amount bad here. As I said, like he's just waiting for some for news. Like of course that has its own questions, but
Yeah.
they can't really predict that George is just going to drop a leak bomb, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that was just very unfortunate timing with that. Like normally the reporters are pretty good at just asking like when they can drop this sort of stuff as well, you know.
Yeah.
To prevent exactly this situation from happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone just slipped the ball on that one, which is a
Hey
bit
Scoots,
unfortunate.
thanks for the sub, by the way, to Valoranting on Twitch here. That said, though, rumors are now that looking at the Sentinels roster, it was Def as aforementioned, but there's also Sasi and Penkata who's going to join the roster. And at the same time, while we're talking about Penkata and Sasi, we're also mentioning now that apparently 100 Thieves considered speaking to Sadak as well within 100 Thieves. So my question to both of you, starting with you, Tanner, is what are your thoughts now of like Loud potentially at the verge of officially breaking up, even if they've won champions? Because they've lost Bazooka officially too, most.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't get it. Like I understand that I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it was kind of my same initial thought when 100 Thieves had, I think it was last year, they had this miracle run to eventually make it to Berlin, and then they placed like third place, and I think it was Masters 3, and then immediately after that they're like, Steel's gone, everything sucks, Nitro's going back to CS, and they were like making all these big changes. I have such a hard time wrapping my head around, you know, when you're finding success. I understand that there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but like, why would you not just stick with the success versus, you know, what 100 Thieves did specifically? Oh my God. Okay. So thought I could just say, all right.
Well, this was, I think this was like last week or something like that too, where he just
Okay.
literally tweeted out this ban.
Yeah. And so like, I will never understand that. More speaking on 100 Thieves, that worries me for where their roster is headed. Because Sadak is, I'm pretty sure, a flex player, and Asuna, I'm pretty sure, is playing flex. And it would be really weird for them to say, like, we want young players like Cryocells, and we want, like, this works for us. And then being like, well, also, this Brazilian guy's pretty good. So let's bring him in too because it works for 100 Thieves. We promise. The reason we didn't get Yay wasn't money. It's because it works. That's why we got. So it would just be like really weird to kind of go back on all of that and kick out a young player in Asuna. Maybe Sadak is the sixth man. I don't know. But I will never understand why rosters find success and they're like, all right, hooses.
At least shout out to Costa876 here in the chat saying that Sadak tweeted that as a joke after they've lost a show match on top of that. But it still looks pretty close that it's going to be official. So, Kenny, what are your thoughts about Loud this banning? How is this going to shake up the North American partnership scene?
I mean, I'm more sad about it than anything else. Like, I really want a team to go into next year who's just won champions, you know? Like, you want that known quantity going in to see how every other team does versus Loud. Now, like, 3 of them rumored to be going other places, and like maybe 2 of them stay. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, but I think the 3 who are rumored, they can improve basically any team they go to. So like, I think that is definitely going to shake up a lot of things in NA. You know, a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I think I could be on this roster," are now going to be like, "Oh wait, now I have to compete with these world champions." You know, and it's not a good feeling.
Even for those that stay, right, Les and Aspas are still going to do a very huge impact for Loud. So I'm looking excited to see how Loud's going to rebuild if that's going to happen. But let's continue on with the rumors. I think the most recent rumor as well, staying within the NA partnership program, is the consideration of Cloud9 bringing them the guards coach MCE. So this will allow once again the reunion, the continuation of that storyline of the Chaos Nine, where you have MCE that's going to be able to join the main core of Vanity, Zeppa, and Leaf. Now, this is all cool. This is all rainbows and unicorn. But realistically, at this point, now that you had an opportunity to cast Cloud9 during stage 2 in the qualifiers, trying to get into the playoffs, is this actually the change that's needed after seeing the performances of C9 here, Tanner?
I think Cloud9 are known for building a Colossus team, and they are trying to do it again. And I hope history doesn't repeat itself, but we know that does tend to happen. It is nice that some of the it's not like big changes. It's not Curry just out of left field, right? Where I'm sure there is history with Curry for some of the players on Cloud9, but it really just didn't work, right? The changes they're making, and it is looking like a Colossus team, right? You pick up Ye, best player in the world. Probably could be argued, I would say, best player in the world, right? You pick up Zelsis. Vanity and Zelsis at one point were a package deal. And then your coach coming into this one, you have 2 remaining players that Vanity's already had success with when they were the Cloud9 of old with Jetta on the team, bringing in MCE. So it seems like another Colossus plan. And I think that this one might actually work.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens if it's officially going to be Ye and Zelsis joining the roster. I mean, Zelsis is an awesome quote-unquote free agent right now, but he's still a version 1, but he's done a great impact in NA. That said, speaking of NA, let's move forward and speaking about and talk about the Game Changers. So Game Changers in North America started with the open qualifiers over the last weekend. We've finalized the open qualifier now to solidify our top 8 to move into the main stage that continues on this weekend starting on Thursday. So as you can see on screen here, the 8 teams making it through the open qualifiers: C9, EG, Misfits, Immortals, Complexity, Xset, TSM, and Shopify Rebellion. How does this shape out to see now which teams are going into Berlin? Because you are able to have 2 North American teams out of the 8 in the finals in Berlin. That's going to be happening in November. And just like EMEA, there's a circuit point for the top team to move forward. But what is going to be important looking at this right now is, for example, if C9 actually wins this tournament, so they're automatically going into Berlin. So that means the runner-up in terms of the highest points will be able to qualify through points as the second team in North America to go to Berlin. So if you're looking at it from a first-hand perspective, it almost seems that C9 really the only option for them not to make it into the finals in Berlin is if they bomb into like a 7th or 8th spot in terms of the amount of points they could actually get. And then Shopify Rebellion actually moves in and moves in pretty deeply at second place, that is, right? So no matter what for these 8 teams, it's just whoever, you just want to win the tournament just to guarantee that spot. But it's still looking to be a pretty difficult position for C9 to not make it to Berlin here, Tanner.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. You said the 7th and 8th, which would give them I don't know if we can get those points back up, but I think it would get them
20 points, I think.
Okay, yeah, 20 or 30 points.
Yeah.
Which there's just no way they go out 7th, 8th. Thank you. Okay, so here it is. So 20 points. This would put them at 180, and then 60 points for Shopify would put them also at 180, and then we'll say Evil Geniuses win. So Evil Geniuses win, they automatically qualify. Cloud9 White bomb out at 7th, 8th, and they're at 180 points. Shopify gets second. You add that to 120, they're at 180. It would then be Evil Geniuses going off of the auto qual and Shopify going because GC3 is the tiebreaker. So
yeah,
that is like a crazy world. There's also a world where if Evil Geniuses does better, if Evil Geniuses get second place and Shopify get a 5th, 6th, they'll tie and Evil Geniuses will go instead. And this is assuming that Cloud9 White wins it all. Which is, I think everybody is assuming that. I will say, I don't think I said it enough on the desk. First and foremost, I don't think Cloud9 goes out 7th, 8th. There's just no way. We've already seen the Cloud9 White Immortals matchup in Game Changers 3 alone, and Cloud9 White won that one. So just winning that puts them in a great spot.
That's the weird part, though, because C9 White and Immortals have played during the open qualifiers in that bracket, and also the TSM matchup has been versus
Next set,
XSET
yep.
has been played as well. So it's kind of like rematches in important games during the open qualifier, but you have some sort of read. And Immortals have been on the up and up, so there is still a chance where you might have to do a lower bracket run for C9 if the upset does happen. But I guess we don't really consider that. But I think one team or two teams to be looking out for, even though they're out of the running for the points, they still have a great chance to win the tournament. That's actually Complexity and Misfits. They've had a great up and up, the night and day performances from Game Changers 2 to Game Changers 3. So that is going to be very fun to watch for this weekend, and make sure you all don't miss it. That's going to be on the main channel on Valorant starting on Thursday. That said, though, I think we're going to stick around with GC, but now going into what was less fun and more fucking stupid in my eyes. And I'm trying to do my best not to be like an angry silly, because I want to try to set a better example for a lot of people as well with my platform. And I just got to say, man, I'm just fucking disappointed about this. Let's go ahead and at least give you the rundown if you've missed over the drama for this weekend. Starting things off, we have a team called EQ Series that's been playing through the open qualifiers for Game Changers. They were already issued a competitive ruling in the first place, and having their match, or actually losing a player to be disqualified for throwing out a racist meme on Discord. And we're not going to show that as well, because it's very, very inappropriate. And again, another reason why I say I'm really, really fucking disappointed to have to read this and to try to explain that. But that said, EQ Series had to find a sub. Now, apparently, the sub that they picked up here is not apparently. This is also known facts. The sub that they picked up is a man that wanted to fake being non-binary to be able to participate into the North American Game Changers and be that sub for EQ Series. This guy is named Dyslexic or Dyslexia, whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter at this point. And also, not only was this person faking to be non-binary, but also apparently had third-party cheats on his account. And saying that he hasn't used these cheats during the CLG match, who the fuck cares? He also was caught with third-party cheats on his account. So trying to find a fast route to get the bag to compete and whatnot. But overall, I think this is just very, very insulting to the Game Changers community. It's very, very insulting to the non-binary players and people who are just trying to find a safe space to compete within the Game Changers in North America. And I'll admit it. Like there's a lot of people that are gonna say, fucking snowflakes, whatever. You wouldn't survive in a fucking Call of Duty lobby back in like 2004. Well, guess fucking what? I fucking participated in the Call of Duty fucking lobbies in 2003. I was actually one of those people that were really fucking toxic too. But I learned from my mistakes and we try to get better from there. But the thing is that frustrates me is that we're always supposed to be better from the previous generations moving forward. So if I was already an idiot back then, I was hoping that the future generations would hear and learn about the idiots like me and do better from then on. And just to be able to see that nothing's really changed from then until now, it's just very discouraging to fucking see. And I really hope that we're able to do better as a fucking community, starting now, hopefully, to just be more inclusive, find some fucking empathy, do some fucking respect, like show some respect. Respect Heart, right? I got some shit from fucking Sir Scoot saying respect Heart for a guy going to fucking land while he had COVID, but this fucking tops it off right now, and I gotta say, man, it's depressing. I'm super disappointed. I just hope we do better from there. Tanner, I want to know your thoughts here.
Well, I'm in that same boat. I want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, obviously, I feel like our watchers, our viewers, the people in the chat right now know this, but police your friends, right? So I don't know who turned in the original racist post, but whoever did, thank you for that, because we need more of that, right? It's not okay behind closed doors. It's not okay ever to act that way. So whoever turned in that EQ Series player, shout out to you, because we need more of that. You need to police your friends. And if there's slack on that, then they're not really your friends, right? Fuck them.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately what is the most frustrating for this, and we heard it from Tanny even, is that things are a lot more strict around the world regarding the game changer scene. And uh, right now, North America, it is easy for us to be inclusive because it's just kind of been working. And then you have these very bad eggs that come in and pretend to be non-binary because they think they can get the bag, or they want this Twitter clout, this fame to say, "Hey, we beat this team, we beat X team," and they're lying about it. And outside looking in, Riot now needs to try and find a way to get around this, and which will eventually lead to less inclusivity, right? Or I guess it'll be more
The
inclusive.
barrier of
rather.
entry is more difficult as well for
Exactly.
these players. Yeah.
So and then it's so for outside of that, for like real reasons where Riot's like, hey, we have to crack down on this. You also have this situation where other non-binary members that are playing in Game Changers now are just not safe to be non-binary in Game Changers because everybody and their mom is going to be like, oh, well, this person's faking. Like, what the hell, non-binary? They're just doing what Dyslexia did. So it's really fucking shitty. So please be better. Mind yourself. Like, mind your own fucking business. Who cares? The people that are saying snowflakes, like, if you are going out of your way to call me a snowflake because I'm supporting the marginalized genders, it clearly bothers you more that I'm doing that, and you just need to stay in your own lane. You don't have to live Tanner's life. Yeah, live your own fucking life, right? So police your friends, stay in your own lane, and Jesus fucking Christ, quit trying to cancel everybody, man. Holy shit. You're not bigger than Riot Games, who will handle this stuff. So don't make throwaway accounts to try and cancel people either.
Yeah, and Tanny, at this point, where we're looking at it from the the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at the partnership program that's going to happen, or any leagues with pro players that are actually signed by organizations, yes, you could implement fines and whatnot. Like I tweeted about it yesterday, saying like, we got to figure out a way to like stop letting these people just think that it's okay to do a twit longer and say sorry, and they could just walk away from everything while making everything very difficult for those that actually really want to compete for the love of the game and for the opportunity to compete. So how do we stop this shit from the player's perspective at this point? Because we recommended potentially, principles and practices programs, or like mentorship programs or whatnot, but you can't do it for a blanketed approach for everybody, because that's a lot of time and resources.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the growing pains with a new scene like this. The more inclusive you try to be, the more people try and take advantage of it as well, as is the case with what's happening in NA right now. It's really unfortunate that that's the case, and there's no real way to combat it unless you stop trying to be inclusive, which is obviously not the goal of this,
Yeah.
The way to police it, though, is you got to just like impose strict bans, fines, things like that. From an org's point of view, like to stop people from just like hiding their friends and things like that, it's really good to have like a mental coach. I think basically every tier 1 org has that, and I think the Game Changers players should have access to it as well.
Yeah.
Like our mental coach on Vitality was like really good, and she did the TSM Game Changers team before joining Vitality. So those resources are there for some orgs. I think it needs to be there for other ones, where there are people keeping tabs on everyone's like mental health, everyone's toxicity levels, like everything like this, making sure people aren't saying these things in public, and they aren't saying it in private either. Like you can change someone's actual mentality when you talk about it. You just need to have like an open conversation in an org with it.
And it's not only in the competition as well, right? Just make sure that in your ranked games, you see somebody that's, okay, just because you hear the voice of somebody that's you're not used to, it's just, automatically gonna have to be toxic. Somebody's low fragging, you're gonna call them boost it, whatnot. That's why Game Changers exists, so that we don't have that type of toxicity, and we could have that type of inclusivity, inclusiveness. I don't even know fucking how to say it anymore. I'm just angry at this point. That said, let's just move on, guys. Let's just try to fucking be better at this point. But let's continue with actually some more shitty news actually around the scene in Valorant. So it's with Rising Hope. So there's a player named Pizza here that did a twit longer about their experience with their team against a coach from Rising Hope, who also apparently is the owner of Rising Hope, and this coach's name is Simons. To give you context of what's been going on with this guy, one has been on a call with another person called Wei, and while he's watching the team scrim, he's always going like, "Hey man, just give me a call and show me your dick," ha, 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 like being very um being very offside in terms of principles and ethics around the team. Suddenly, throughout another scrim, randomly decides to turn on his camera, where, of course, everybody else has their cameras on so that you could actually record, facial expressions or whatnot while you're going through watching VODs or scrimming. And the Simon's coach decided to stand up and show his penis. And was very inappropriate in that sense. So all of Pizza's team decide to step away from Rising Hope. But although that happens, there's still the Rising Hope account saying, "Oh, like in a nice way, thank you for all your contribution. We're looking to rebuild the team." But at this time, it's like, this guy is just a fucking shitty human. And at the same time, not only is he showing his dick, but apparently also there was a video of him coming out in terms of being very racist towards the Ukrainian scene, or just the Ukrainian country, saying that all of Ukraine has to be eliminated at this point. So it's just fucking shitty, dude. It's just a piece of shit, actually. For the owner / coach of Rising Hope. I apologize if he's not the owner, and I tied in Rising Hope with Simons, but apparently this is going to be the case, and you can already see from Rising Hope on the second line here of the announcement saying Simons will actually remain in the organization. So also tied together. This is actually quite a shitty.
I would say don't apologize. Whether Simons is the lead of Rising Hope or not the lead of Rising Hope, fuck Rising Hope for letting him stay on the organization. Like those guys need to go. It also says in the twit longer from Pizza that it's, if you didn't know, it's a female team. So it's like, not that if it was a male team it makes it any better, but to show your penis to a team of females, hey dude, don't
show your dick, period.
do
Just
that.
don't do it.
Yeah, like what
just
the
don't do
fuck are
it.
you doing,
Simple
man?
as. Like,
That's
it's not
Chemical
hard.
X, bro. That's Chemical X.
Back
We
to
talked about
childless
sugar
girls.
spice and everything nice. We gotta get away from that shit. No, that's fucking horrible. And please, for the love of God, again, I know our viewers know better, but Rising Hope, stay away from him. Rising Hope, stay away from him.
Yeah,
This
I
is-
just got to add, like, if you're
Yeah.
looking to be picked up, do not go to this org at all.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they'll treat you like shit. If they drop their entire roster based off the coach, like, pulling this shit, you're not going to have any hope there to, like, progress, you
Yeah.
know?
No Rising
Just
Hope
look
for
for another
sure.
thing. Yep.
Just Rising Dicks if you stay around that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That said, let's continue with the roster shuffles now, this time in EMEA. I don't want to give more time to this team or this person. So let's talk about CNED. Apparently, potentially joining Na'Vi at this point, with all of FPX basically is going to be joining Na'Vi with the exception of Artis. And now that we have you on here, Danny, what are the rumors that you've been hearing about CNED and Na'Vi?
So CNED's been trialing for a lot of teams in EU. I don't think that's a surprise, you know, like Ascend didn't make it and he's just insane. A very interesting point for me is that he has found his form back, according to a lot of trial rumors. And apparently he's actually better than even his like peak in 2021, which if that's true, and then this Na'Vi thing is true as well, that is going to be one scary team, man. Like you have like the core of FPX, and then you add like an informed CNED into that. That's just how do you win at that point, you know? Like,
CNED has always
really
been in these
scary.
conversations where, you know, of being like a top player in the world when they were actually qualifying for these games and going to the Masters and whatnot. And we haven't heard about CNED in quite a while, with the exception of a sign that says like, "I wish I was playing" at one of the events he was spectating. So what's your pulse on the level of excitement to see CNED coming back into partnership play, Tanner?
Yeah, it's great. Like you said, at one point, I feel like at one point he was regarded as the best player in the world, right? After Ascend kind of, I don't want to say they shocked the world, but they had an incredible year, 2021. And I think that they were hoping to do the same, which maybe is now like, oh, well, they win it all and they're the champions, and then they try and stay the same, and then they don't do as well. It's nice to see. We talked about it last week with Cryocells and Yay, where we saw I related cryocells to Mike Tyson, and we don't know, right? Mike Tyson, the best boxer, heavyweight boxer in the world for a really long time, gets knocked out one time and is never the same. And I think CNED kind of experienced that. Mike Tyson of 2021 kind of gets knocked out, gets rattled a little bit. Maybe it's the pressure, it's the nerves that are kind of getting to him now that he is kind of, renowned as the best player in the world. And he didn't quite look the same. But if the rumors are true that he's starting to bounce back from that, that's a very, very scary CNED because he already went through the trenches. And now it's just all up from here.
Yeah. And now moving on to Koi/Rogue. A rumor of a new roster coming in as well. Originally, we thought that it was going to be, or it was supposed to be announced to be an all Spanish team, but this time, 99.9% sure here from Zesh saying that Coldamenta, they got somebody there from Spanish descent. Coldamenta is going to be IGLing for the team, but apparently we're going to have Shados and Starshow joining and Babar as a coach. This looks to be a very strong roster, but this also means that the rumors of Mixwell joining Koi at the beginning is not going to happen. Mixwell now moving over to apparently Heretics to join. So that's some pretty cool news for both of these rosters overall in both of these organizations. So let's go ahead. Do we have some breaking news? You got some breaking news? Okay. We got some. It's official with a little stamp here from Angel, from Shao, and also from Doom Bros. So this is good for those three guys. We still don't know officially what organization that is, but as you just heard us, if you're watching this show on Twitch live, is we just mentioned Na'Vi. So that's pretty cool. Still no news on CNED though. But let's go ahead and talk about the possible changes within Koi. What's your thoughts on this main core joining this roster, Tanny?
I really like this core. Like, Koi were always going to go with like having one Spanish player at least. You need that for your identity, for your brand, everything. And I'm pretty happy with the Coldamenta pick because he's Spanish, he's a smokes player, and he's an IGL. He ticks all the boxes. There are not many of those available in EU right now, and there's even fewer IGLs who have LAN experience and like have been at tier 1 since the start of the game, basically.
Yeah.
It's a very good player to pick up, and then adding Starkso, world champion, and then like Shados, just the Russian turret himself. Like it's yeah, like that's a pretty damn good core to start off with. You just add like 2 people on top of that, and that's a top 5, top 4 competing roster in EU, I think.
Another great thing is that because it's EMEA, then there's going to be good production. So we're going to have great camera shots of Babar just being very vocal and animated for every round wins or losses for this team. So I'm really looking forward to the official main core roster right after everything gets announced. But what does this mean now for Heretics? Mixwell is the only one rumored to this roster so far, Tanner, but Mixwell comes with a lot of branding.
Yeah. Yeah, so that alone, that's something that we talked about with the Koi and Rogue merger, right? It pays off to have players like this. I think before the show, we were kind of theory crafting, what Mixwell was going to be looking to do. I would like to see maybe something a bit more concrete on where the rest of the mech players are going. I don't know if, again, they're headed out towards Team Heretics, but I do think that mech is an incredibly strong team, and it would be sad to see some of these guys not show up somewhere. So maybe not towards Team Heretics, but yeah, I think Mixwell kind of been out of the loop in the star players that we've talked about, especially for 2022. And I am excited to see him kind of get back to his form as well. Maybe not going to be the CNED of the squad, but he definitely brings a lot in way of fans, and we all know that, hey, Clout pays the bills, baby. Clout pays the bills, baby.
Exactly. And now continuing on with Vitality, as we take the opportunity to have Tanny on the show, we're just going to say, hey, sorry, bro. So Vitality acquires Vitality acquires Salah as a head coach. Unfortunately here for Tanny, who was the last coach that we had for Vitality. But this overall, when we had Anders on the show a couple of weeks ago, and Vitality was announced to be part of the partnership program, Anders said there's no way that you're going to try to rebuild the roster because they've done so well between the VLR tournaments and almost winning it, losing 2-3 in the grand finals. But Batty G is like a great player, but even Batty G himself I think announced recently that he was going at other options, right? Looking at other options, if I'm not mistaken, on that one. So, what are your thoughts overall of this restructuring of Vitality? If you actually have any insights, and if you could provide any here.
Well, yeah, I can't say too much about it, but like
Spill the beans.
Anders was saying what I was thinking. You know, like
Mhm.
there wasn't going to be like a huge overhaul of the roster in my
Mhm.
eyes. You know, I thought we had the core down with like Baddie, Bone Cold, Sender. It's just about finding the other two pieces which
Mhm.
could like compete at tier 1 consistently. Yeah, I think that plan was going to work very well. But yeah, since then they've just decided to go a different route, which is fine. Like
Yeah.
picking up Salah, it's a good choice, honestly. Like Salah, you can see how well he did with like OG
Yep.
for LCQ. You can see how much they improved from like stage 2 to LCQ. That was just insane, you know.
Yeah.
So the guy isn't like an incompetent coach or anything. He's a very good pick.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure about his plan, you know, because like if I was him, I would have done everything to try and keep like Baddie
For
on the
sure.
roster. Like keeping that core together was like the most important thing for me when I was on Vitality. So
Mm.
it's a bit strange, like seeing, but I'm sure he has his reasons for that as well.
Hopefully opportunities in another partnership team, and also
Yeah.
all the best as well to you, Tanny, during the offseason. Hopefully you're going to be able to bounce back and land on your feet, hopefully in a partner team for 2023 as well.
Let's hope
Let
so.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about here the off season that officially kicked off a couple of weeks ago, at least in North America. There was a G4 clash that happened, but now here in EMEA, the most, or over there where you are, Tanny, in EMEA, not over here in NA, but one of the biggest off-season tournaments, of course, is going to be that RedBull Homeground that actually kicked off. This is the brackets that we currently see so far with a bunch of qualifiers that went through. So this is the EMEA qualifier. There's also the Turkish qualifier that finished out in August, with Big winning the EMEA one. And then, if I'm not mistaken here, through the two qualifiers, there's also going to be 6 invited teams, including 2 of North America, that is going to be participating into the RedBull Homeground. That's actually going to be a LAN in December in Manchester, UK. So your thoughts, Tanny, because I think this is like next door for you.
Yeah, I mean, I already got my tickets. Like,
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna
Hell yeah.
go
Hell yeah.
see my past players, you know, see everyone. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to this tournament. It's a bit of a weird one because it's right before franchising, and like some of the teams are obviously not in franchising, but then some of them are, and they will have like new rosters. So it's super weird. Like you'll have just a bit of a crazy tournament, I feel.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a good thing that like neither Koi or like Heretics managed to qualify because you know if they're doing a big roster overhaul,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen for this tournament?
True.
It's gonna be a bit weird.
But in the end, it's still a great tournament to have, even if it's during the off
Yeah.
season, and also, you know, in the midst of all of these roster changes. Because Tanner, at this point, for a lot of these players that are still trying to figure out what's going to happen within the partnership program, it's still a great way for them to showcase their skills in order to
Yeah.
get scouted. Because there's no other fucking way to get scouted so far
Yeah.
to see if you're in
Yeah.
tip-top shape, with the exception of getting your matches streamed when you're actually competing in these tournaments.
Yeah, 100%. So for the players that are kind of sticking around for what could be the last legs on X specific team, yeah, it is basically just one last hurrah of, hey, look at me. Because if you don't have a large social following, you don't have a large stream where people are seeing that, or you're not getting the offers for trials for specific teams. This is I thought I froze for a second. Sorry, guys. Things get a little weird over here. I spoke too much about Powerpuff Girls, and now there's like some Mojo Jojo Juju on my house or something. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, like you said, man, this is a really good kind of one last raw. And I do want to give a huge shout out to the EMEA off season. It looks fucking baller with all of the tournaments that are coming up. Obviously, kicking it off with the RedBull Homeground. I wish I was out there for the off season, honestly.
I'm so glad we actually have tournaments this
Yeah,
year
right?
instead of last year where it was just a massive break.
I remember,
It's
like
gonna
in
be really cool
2020, you were
to-
talking about that. Yeah, how it was difficult to find tournaments to play in. But continue. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's gonna be a good first look for teams like Liquid, Vitality, you know, any other partnership teams which get invited to this because, well, yeah, like it's in December. The teams should have their rosters pretty set by then,
Yep.
and
Yep.
like have a little bit of game time. It's gonna be very cool to see them.
And as Tanner is giving shout outs, I want to give some shout outs as well because it's about time to go to break here. First shout out here to Tanny. Tanny, once again, thank you for coming on to the show, finding some time to hang out with us here. I know we just talked briefly throughout the show what's next for you, but at least close range now. Give us some spice. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'll be in partnership. Whether it's an EU
Okay.
or APAC is to be seen, but I'll definitely see you guys in Sao Paulo. That's what I'm
That's
looking
awesome.
forward to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
with that confidence, I hope that it does manifest, man. I'm looking forward to see you in the partnership program, and we want to give a quick shout out, of course, to everybody in chat here on twitch.tv, and a shout out to Twitch, of course, for putting us on the front page. We are Valoranting. We have a show every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about everything and anything that goes around Valorant, from the main news to the esports scene, and that's usually with us two, Tanner and myself, and a special guest that comes on every week. But hopefully you're enjoying the show. If you're missing it, make sure you watch it on our VODs, and we have it also in audio format right after the show in the following days. So please follow our socials at Valoranting as well on Twitter and also on TikTok. And then we're going to go for a break now. When we come back, it's time for our segments for the interview, where we're going to have BCJ, formerly of XSET, join us, and we're going to dive deep into his career. See you after the break.